We are back for episode 2 of the Pico Reef series. I'm Tyler Huxford, the Red Reefer, and today we're going to be talking again about how to start a Pico Reef. So the reason that we're doing a second episode here is because I had started my first episode using the typical 4.5 gallon tank that I was using as a Pico tank. I had used that tank as a Pico Reef for about a year when I had an in-office job. In fact, it sat there as a really nice office tank for about a year. It was a really cool thing. It oftentimes became the water cooler of the office. Lots of people liked congregating around it. But then the head janitor of the office shut that down. Apparently had something to do with a fire hazard or something like that. And so we ended up bringing that Pico Reef home, and I decided ultimately to put everything that was in the Pico Reef back into these tanks. That happened a couple years ago, but I had used that tank for over a year, had tremendous success using that tank, so I decided in getting the Pico Reef set up again that I was going to use that tank for this series. But what ended up happening is that the second time around, the tank ended up giving way to a lot of calcification issues. So because we were doing such a good job of keeping great water parameters, that's ultimately what happened. The equipment, the pumps especially, couldn't really withstand the calcification that was taking place in the tank. The tank I was using was honestly just not built to house a Pico Reef specifically, where we're going to be keeping high alkalinity as well as calcium levels. So I decided to embark on the mission of finding the best suited aquarium for a reef-specific Pico tank. A small tank designed and purpose-built to house things like corals in high alkalinity calcium environments where things are going to encrust, things are going to calcify, and where it can ultimately go the distance. And I did end up finding such a tank a few months ago. However, I was told to hold off for just a little bit as they hadn't yet released this brand new product to the market yet. But today, I've come home with the brand new Pico tank, which I'm here to showcase. So after hours of research, which I've done, I've determined that this is the very best desktop tank out there. So this is an aquarium kit made by Obsidian Ocean Laboratory. It is 6.1 liters. That's about 1.6 gallons, folks, which means by filling this with water, this is going to be about 14 pounds. 14 pounds is a perfect weight just to sit on a desktop. You can bring this to work. It's going to look great. People are going to think you are so cool for having a slice of the ocean on your desk. So we'll go ahead and open up this kit. We'll highlight everything that this kit comes with, as honestly it comes with a lot of the things that you will need regardless of what you use to start your Pico tank. And then we're going to build this thing. I'm excited to get this thing going. All right, so let's go ahead and open up this bad boy. This is like Christmas come early. Very well packaged here. And okay, so pulling this out. So here is the tank. A lot of bubble wrap, the Pop It bubble wrap, my daughter likes to call it. She's going to love that. We actually need to hide this, folks, otherwise it's going to sound like there are machine guns going off in this house. So here we are. The contents of the box are actually outlined in the front. So included in the kit, you've got the 08 AIO aquarium, you've got the return pump included, you've got the nozzle and the plumbing kit, and you've got a basic filter pack. So what it doesn't come with is a light. Now there is a light that you can actually order on coralscoral.com. I'll put the link to that light in the description. It's a nice Econ light. However, because I've kept 3 Pico tanks successfully now using a recycled Kessel A360X, I'm just going to continue using that light. I got a lot of great coral growth, both in the softies as well as the LPS the last time I used that light. I'm going to keep using that. But there are some nice lights out there that would clip right on the back of this, and it would be nice and easy. The Kessel A360X, I actually have to find something else to anchor it on a little further back. And then it is quite a bit of light for such a tiny spot. Just looking at the size here though, this is really cool. Dare I say cute. I mean, it's just a really good size. I'm loving that. And it's nice and light, really well packaged. All right, let's go ahead and unwrap some of the packing here. Okay. So we've got the Obsidian Oceans Laboratory sticker on the back here with Christian Davidson's signature on the back. That's the founder of the company. Very cool. Now, the reason that I like this specific setup and why I'm excited to give it a go is because it comes with a built-in sump in the back, and not all these small tanks come with this. So it comes with a couple of compartments, so I can see here as I pull out this sponge, so it already comes with a sponge, which I'm guessing is used as the filter here, but I actually have some tiny Red Sea filters which I use for my Pico tank filtering, and it's going to fit just ever so perfectly in here. Then I see that I've got the nozzle here. Very good. And then got to turn this bad boy upside down. All right. Whew. If you've got a loved one with tiny hands around, you might want to keep them handy as you open this thing up. All right, just looking into the box here. All right, so this is everything needed to power the pump, which is great. See, and this is like the exact same pump. Not the exact same, I'm not saying it's the exact pump, but this is very similar to what I've seen, for example, like Innovative Marine use for their skimmers and UV sterilizers. So this is gonna work. By the way, the flow for this out-of-box setup is about 200 liters per hour, which I think is perfect for, you know, a 6-liter tank. That means you're getting plenty of turnover within an hour. So that being said, I mean, I'm tempted to even give like some SPS a go here. Dare I say that? We'll see. Don't want to get carried away here. We want to get a nice slow start. So that being said, let's go ahead and start building this bad boy. Let's set up this tank. Okay, now we need to talk about where we're going to place this tank, and honestly I want this tank to go right there where you see the computer. I think that would be a nice way to tie in the entryway here upon coming inside. A nice welcome to the Huxford abode. So I'm thinking this spot looks really good. Let's go ahead and place the tank here. So we were able to get this set up. The flow is going. We also have the heater ready to go as well. It's looking pretty good. The last thing we want to put in here is the light, as well as the corals that we're going to get this thing started with. We're going to go ahead and do that tonight. This was a very successful lunch break, but we're going to get back to work here and then come back a little later today and finish this thing up. All right, we're back. Let's go ahead and get this light going. Maybe put some corals inside. right, so it's been 1 week since we set up the new Pico tank here. So I figured we better provide an update. We're probably overdue for that. Should have posted this last week. By the way, I realized that we were setting this up in the front area over there, so my wife wanted me to move that because realistically don't have any outlets along the back of that wall. So the cord was running along the hallway, total tripping hazard. My wife's right, plus wives are always right. So we decided to put it in the living room, just like I did last time, and honestly, it's a good space. So here it is, the 1.3 gallon cube. You saw just how easily I moved that. And we've got the setup that we unboxed earlier on in the video. The only other thing that I've added is a Kessel A360X light, and this realistically is a recycled Kessel A360X, which I used to use on that 40-gallon tank over there. It's probably lost its luster a little bit, but I think for this setup, it's worked really well. The only thing that you see back here is this like black, this is actually like a Samsung TV stand. And the reason I stood that up here is because the neck on this would take the light way too far out. And so I had to put something back there so I could clip it a little further back so that the light gets into the tank as opposed to just out front of it. But let's go ahead and zoom in on this. All right, so let's take a quick tour of what we got here. So just kind of zooming in top to bottom. So we have right there, I think they call it the Japanese toadstool, the really lime green ones. And then I just placed some eagle eye zoas close to that. This is a frag that I didn't really need anywhere else. And then I put in this hammer coral, which is doing quite well. So these don't always do great in Pico tanks, but I think the flow that's coming in is just right for this tank. So this is actually the happiest hammer that I've got. Like, they don't even pop out this much in my other tanks, probably because I just have too much flow going on in them. I did go ahead and put a red cap monopora back there, which you can see. I've got some candy cane corals on both sides of the tank. I've got these red mushrooms. They're not really bounce mushrooms, but they've got like those little bounce spots on them. I put in some Rasta zoas. Those are my favorite, well, my favorite kind of budget zoa. I put some Duncans in here. This was mainly for testing to see if I was ready for hammers, and they did really well after a few days, so I just left them there. This frag right here on top has some small Super Saiyan zoas that I'm trying to savor. You can barely see them. Maybe if I give you a top-down view, you'll be able to see that. Well, now I'm covering it. There you go. I do need to be careful with this frag, though, because it does have just a little bit of black cloves on that. So the fuzzy stuff you see on that is actually black cloves. I've actually found you can get rid of that by just laying some really thick kalkwasser on that. And then we've got the, this is actually like a merged orange oxide and blue blueberry frag right here that somehow got merged together. I just pulled this out from a tank that I have. Right here, and you can barely see this, is a piece of mushroom. That's actually supposed to be a bounce mushroom, which I'm hoping it is. I also put a piece of tequila sunrise in here, and I'm pretty sure it got lost in the flow. So I either lost my bounce mushroom or else my tequila sunrise. So it would be a complete surprise, very disappointing surprise if this turns out that this is just a piece of tequila sunrise and it's actually the bounce mushroom that I lost. So, and then back here, these are Fruit Loops, which are closed. That piece fell on the ground, so you know, just waiting for those to open up a little bit. And then I, you know, there's my welcome to the reef hobby. You know, there's Aptasias everywhere. So this guy I'm just going to take care of today because realistically, like, I mean, if you have an Aptasia in a Pico tank, you've got to take care of it because the tank is just so small. This is only like a gallon worth of water with all the rocks in there and the corals. Like, the water column is built to hold 1.3 gallons, but I mean, with everything in there displacement wise, there's less than a gallon in here. So got to be really careful about the parameters. I also put a piece of GSP in the back, just on the ground there. So hoping that just travels up the wall towards the light, which, you know, totally trust that it will. GSP has never let me down. Also hope it never touches any of the rest of this rock work. That would be devastating. But for a weekend, we're doing really great. So just a couple complaints, I would say, is once again, I think I was going a little fast. Didn't glue everything down. So in a Pico tank, if you don't glue everything down, I mean, like, I've got one astrea snail in here, just one. And that astrea snail is just really knocking everything over. And realistically, you've just gotta realize that your stuff's gonna get knocked around in a small tank like this with frags this size. If you're not willing to glue the rocks together, epoxy the rocks together, glue the corals together, so you just realistically got to expect that. And then at night, you also get like the bristle worms that come out. They're knocking things around. So I just constantly have to kind of move things around. You can actually see how I've got like my little tool for moving things around in here, because it's tough to stick my hand in here. The water height on this tank is just so high that as soon as I stick my hand in there, it just, water just trickles everywhere. That's it for today's video, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this content. We will keep the Pico Reef series going with weekly posts this time. I realize it's been a long time since my first post, but now that we've got a tank that is purpose built for this type of thing, I think we can do some really cool things with this reef. I already see some corals thriving in this tank, like the monopora, like the hammer, that just would not thrive in the other system that I had. So the fact that these corals are doing well, I think is just really encouraging, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Tune in for next week's video, and happy reefing out there, fam.